Marilyn Monroe, the iconic blonde bombshell of the 20th century, left an indelible mark on popular culture and captured the hearts of many, both men and women. Throughout her relatively short life, Monroe was involved with an astonishing number of partners, but tragically, she never got the chance to settle down before her untimely death at the age of 36 from a barbiturate overdose. Her life was filled with turmoil, marked by addiction and struggles with various mood disorders, which made it difficult for her to maintain healthy relationships. In addition to battling chemical dependency, it's suggested that she may have also been addicted to sex and codependent relationships. Her highly publicized marriages to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller were both short-lived, ending in divorce after much public scrutiny. Of course, no discussion of Monroe's love life is complete without mentioning her rumored affairs with President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Robert Kennedy. In this video, we'll take a closer look at these relationships and other significant connections that shaped Marilyn Monroe's complex romantic history. When Marilyn Monroe was just 16 years old and still known as Norma Jean Baker, she married Jim Dougherty, one of her classmates from Van Nuys High School, in 1942. The marriage began happily, but tensions rose when Dougherty enlisted in the Merchant Marines and Monroe began her modeling career. As her career took off, their relationship began to deteriorate. By 1946, just 4 years after they exchanged vows, the couple filed for divorce. Years later, in 1976, Dougherty reflected on their marriage in an interview with People magazine, stating that he believed he and Monroe would have stayed together if he hadn't joined the Merchant Marines during World War II. In 1947, Marilyn Monroe was rumored to have had a brief fling with Charlie Chaplin Jr., the son of the legendary silent film star. Their relationship allegedly ended when Charlie discovered Monroe in an intimate encounter in his brother's bed. This affair was later referenced by Chaplin Jr. in his 1960 autobiography, and it was also mentioned in Anthony Summers' 1985 book, Goddess: The Secret Lives of Marilyn Monroe. In 1962, Marilyn Monroe and President John F. Kennedy reportedly became very close, with rumors suggesting a romantic affair while Kennedy was still married to Jackie O. Tony Appadisano, a friend of Frank Sinatra, revealed in a 2021 People interview that their relationship was purely sexual, as Monroe did not want to interfere with Kennedy's marriage. Monroe's alleged affairs with the Kennedy brothers have been widely reported over the years in books, interviews, and media, though there's little concrete evidence to support these claims. However, the famous footage of Monroe's passionate performance of Happy Birthday to the President in 1962 speaks volumes about their possible connection. Her clear attraction to Kennedy, combined with the intimate setting, leads many to believe that their relationship may have gone beyond just flirtation. After reportedly ending her affair with John F. Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe is said to have become involved with his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, sometime in the mid-1960s. If these rumors are true, one can only imagine the immense heartache Monroe must have felt when both of these influential men were tragically assassinated, one after the other. The loss of both brothers would have been a devastating blow, especially considering the emotional turmoil Monroe had already endured throughout her life. Comedian Milton Berle and Marilyn Monroe first crossed paths on the set of the 1948 film Ladies of the Chorus. Despite being in a relationship with starlet Adele Jurgens at the time, Berle openly revealed that he and Monroe had been involved with each other. Known as the first superstar of the television age, Berle and Monroe later starred together in the 1960 film Let's Make Love, a title that seemed particularly fitting given their past relationship. Marilyn Monroe met Natasha Lytess, her drama instructor and lifelong friend, when she signed with Columbia Pictures in 1948. The two quickly became inseparable, and while it remains purely speculative, many believe that their relationship may have been romantic. Monroe grew so dependent on Lytess that she refused to shoot scenes without her presence. The rumors surrounding their bond only grew stronger when Monroe moved into Lytess's home in 1952 to prepare for her role in Don't Bother to Knock. Things became even more intriguing when Lytess showed openly hostile behavior toward Monroe's male partners, particularly Joe DiMaggio, as she seemed fiercely protective of Monroe. Whether this was the behavior of a close friend or something more remains uncertain, and we may never know the full extent of their relationship. For years, rumors circulated that Marilyn Monroe may have been bisexual or even a lesbian. Some of the women she was allegedly involved with include actress Barbara Stanwyck and legendary singer Marlene Dietrich. In her 1954 autobiography, Monroe addressed these rumors, recalling an incident where a man who had kissed her once suggested she might be a lesbian because she had shown little response to him. At that time, Monroe was still grappling with her own identity. She later wrote that after falling in love for the first time, she realized she wasn't a lesbian. However, it's possible that Monroe downplayed these rumors in her autobiography to deflect the persistent speculation about her sexuality. Had she revealed at the time that she was a lesbian, it could have had a significant impact on her public image. Elia Kazan, one of Hollywood's most acclaimed directors, admitted to having a brief affair with Marilyn Monroe while he was still married to his wife, Molly Thacker, a playwright known for works like Rosemary, The Alligator, and The Egghead. The affair came to light when letters between Kazan and his wife were discovered, revealing that Kazan showed little remorse for his involvement with Monroe. In these private letters, Kazan described Monroe as a little stray cat. At the time of their romance, suggesting she was far from the iconic star she would later become. This affair, had it become public knowledge at the time, could have potentially damaged both Kazan's reputation and Monroe's career. Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe were introduced on a blind date in 1952, and the two quickly hit it off. DiMaggio, who admired Monroe's beauty and charm, envisioned a future where she would be a traditional homemaker and mother to his children. Monroe, in turn, was infatuated with the legendary baseball player, respecting how he treated her with care and respect, rather than trying to make a move immediately. The couple married on January 14, 1954, in a quiet ceremony at San Francisco's City Hall. However, their marriage soon faced difficulties. DiMaggio, who was accustomed to being in the spotlight, grew jealous of Monroe's rapidly increasing fame. The marriage ended in divorce just 9 months later in October, with Monroe later revealing that the turning point came after her famous skirt-fluttering scene in The 7-Year Itch. Joe was deeply upset by the public display of her sexuality and could not accept it. Despite their divorce, DiMaggio and Monroe maintained a close friendship until her death. Joe remained deeply attached to her, reportedly visiting her grave 3 times a week until his own death in 1999. Marlon Brando and Marilyn Monroe were two of the biggest stars of their time, and rumors swirled about them dating in 1955, just after Monroe's divorce from Joe DiMaggio. Their brief relationship is often overshadowed by Monroe's subsequent romance with playwright Arthur Miller. Marilyn famously said it was love at first sight when she met Miller on the set of As Young as You Feel in 1950, but their romantic relationship didn't begin until 1955, when she had settled in New York after her divorce. After a short and secretive courtship, they married in 1956. Monroe later claimed that Arthur was the first man she had truly fallen in love with, admiring his seriousness and sense of humor. Initially, their marriage seemed to provide a more stable and normal life for Monroe, as she embraced a domestic routine, cooking, cleaning, and caring for Miller's children. However, as time passed, Monroe's ongoing struggles with substance abuse began to affect both her career and her home life. The marriage ultimately became strained, and in 1961, just before the release of The Misfits, the couple filed for divorce after 5 years of marriage. Frank Sinatra and Marilyn Monroe's relationship is one of the more notable ones in her life, though it was short-lived. After her divorce from Arthur Miller, Monroe and the legendary crooner briefly dated. She even stayed at Sinatra's home for a time after returning to Hollywood. However, by 1961, their romantic connection began to fade when Sinatra became engaged to actress Juliette Prowse. Despite the cooling of their romance, Sinatra and Monroe remained close friends until her untimely death. Jerry Lewis, the famous comedian, also had a secret romance with Monroe around the same time many people believe she was involved with John F. Kennedy. In a 2011 interview with GQ, Lewis disclosed this relationship, further claiming that he knew for certain Monroe was never involved with JFK. That concludes the rundown of Marilyn Monroe's numerous love interests and relationships. Did we miss any?